I think we need a sign that says
I can
revolving.
I can
door.
edit that in there.
Revolving door.
I can get in a little banner that goes fireworks. Well, this is the Revolving Door podcast. My name is Will Coughlin. This is my dad, Michael Coughlin. We got the inspiration to make this podcast because we feel like we have some very interesting conversations all the time, and we were like, fuck, let's just make a podcast. Other people might like to hear it too. So that's what we're doing. Hope you guys enjoy it. If not, you can just go ahead and turn it off now and save you some time. But anyway, we have just a handful of random stuff that we're going to talk to you about today. The first thing is yerba mate. It is a super drink that I drink every day. It is kind of like tea. It's not specifically tea because all tea, like black tea, green tea, it all comes from the same type of tea plant. Yerba mate comes from a separate plant. So it's not technically a tea, but it's considered a tea. Anyway, it gives you more caffeine or it gives you more energy than coffee and Red Bull and any sort of energy drinks do. Plus, it gives you so many health benefits. There's a lot of health benefits involved in that, and over 195 vitamins. I think it's actually 195 vitamins. Anyway, I drink it every day, and it is, I believe it's an amazing drink. It's one of those things that's meant to be shared. I'm not making any money off of encouraging people to drink it. It's something that is very good for you, and your body will thank you. Anyway, my dad and I are going to have us a cup. I just brewed a fresh press right here. Dad, tell them about how you started drinking yerba mate.
Oh, I'm under a lot of pressure. Well, he's been drinking this for a while, and spent a little time. It's not like coffee. I have a coffee maker. I just push a button, and 5 minutes later, the coffee's ready. And no fuss, no muss, right? But I started drinking this because he says, "Well, why don't you try a cup? You know." Well, it doesn't taste as good as coffee to me, honestly. However, he said, "Well, give it a few days. Give it a few days and see if you have any changes in your life." You know, I said, "Oh, okay." Well, one of the things, you know, when you get my age, which is older than dirt, when you get way up there, I had an odd thing going with the bottom of my feet. I felt like when I walked around the floor with no shoes or socks on, I felt like I was standing on marbles. You know, I couldn't feel all of the sensors in the bottom of my feet. And so it's been like that for about 2 or 3 years now. So somebody said somewhere that it was the first signs of diabetes, or you know, to me, I think it's a sign of old age. Look at my face. So I started drinking this tea about 2 weeks ago, and now I have the feeling back in the bottom of my feet. It's the only thing I've changed. I take the same vitamins, the same everything, the same diet. I still drink coffee, but I have one of these every day, and this is the only thing that's changed, is that I'm getting my circulation back. So it must be good for your circulation. So what he says is true, and I stand behind it. And maybe I get a royalty out of this or something. Maybe
No,
not.
you can forget about that.
Forget it.
But it does have cancer-destroying properties. Like I mentioned, it gives you hella energy. It's anti-inflammatory. Many things. Look it up. There's plenty of research done about it. There's plenty of videos on YouTube. But look it up. I encourage you, because it is really freaking good.
And also, it's supposed to make your face look younger. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for that. Okay. All right. So much for our commercial time.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier today, actually this last month, about
I'm listening.
being that I'm of the older generation, how things are different now than they were then. And a lot of younger people don't have any idea about how it was in the good old days, like old people always say, right? So, one little item that comes into my mind pretty readily, and that is, it was a Saturday night. I was 17 years old, and I had an old Chrysler New Yorker, and I was part of a garage band, rock and roll band, and we were coming back from Santa Rosa one night, and we got back into town, and I stopped and got some gas right there on the square in Sonoma, California. And so we got the gas. We filled up the gas tank for $3.42, and got in the car, and we drove around the corner and went down the main boulevard in Sonoma, and a policeman, city cop, coming the other way, made a U-turn and pulled me over. And so he gets out of the car. I pulled over. He gets out of the car, and he walks up to my window, and I said, yes. And he says, turn your lights on. I said, sorry. I just pulled out of the gas station. The gas station was all lit up. I didn't turn my lights on. I just drove away. And I said, okay. And he walked back to his car, and I turned my lights on, and we drove off. Now, if that happens today, well, things are a little different today, aren't they? You get pulled over by the police with 5 people on a Saturday night. And guess what? You're all sitting on the sidewalk in zip ties while they run everybody's ID, while they run your car to make sure you have insurance and the registration. And then they might even bring a police dog in to smell the trunk. In other words, you'll be there for an hour. And that's the main difference. In the old days, if a teenager got caught drunk driving, they pulled him over and they called his parents. The parents came and got him. But you do that today, oh no.
Another story.
It's a whole different ballgame now. But I think one of the politically things that are going on now, all the upheavals going on, and that is, picture this. It's the difference between today and years behind. It's the Academy Awards. Everyone's excited. All of Hollywood shows up. Thousands of people outside hoping to get a view of the stars as they get out of their limousines and walk on the red carpet. And they're all dressed to the teeth. And they all walk in and they sit in this big, beautiful building. And they go through all the awards and all the different nominees and everything else. And they finally get to the best actor of the year. And the moment everyone's been waiting for. And so the music goes down, the lights go down, and they announce the winner, and everyone cheers and applauds, and the person walks up, and they walk over to the podium, and the music goes down all the way, and the lights dim, and everybody's waiting to hear what the recipient has to say. And he takes it, and he looks at the camera and says, "Fuck Eisenhower." That's the difference between when I was a young man and today. That would never happen. If that happened back when Eisenhower was president, you could probably, the whole room would have been stunned. The crew that worked there would have been stunned. The viewing audience would have been stunned. And you could probably hear an ant pee on a ball of cotton. Okay? And that person would be blackballed. That person would be out of the show business like they were shot from a cannon. Okay? That's the difference. But now it's okay for some reason. Perfectly all right. So that's the big difference between then and now. Among other things too. But
see, nowadays I wish that actors wouldn't do that, because I don't really get into politics or any political arguments or anything, but anytime like an actor that I've loved since I was a kid states their beliefs or opinions about some shit, just like, shut up. You're supposed to be you get paid to play pretend in front of a camera. It just kind of always ruins it for me.
Separation of church and state, and you have separation of actors and politics.
Yeah, there should be, but unfortunately, I mean, that that day came and went, and it's a new day and age.
But life is interesting. It's funny too, because here we are in the greatest country in the history of civilization, and we have the best geography. I mean, America is. We have our oil, we have our food, we have the climate, we can grow anything. It's incredible. Other countries are deserts. Other countries are frozen tundras. Other countries are just out to lunch. But here we are. We have this society, and so many people are just miserable, absolutely miserable, and that's, to me, that's almost like laughable. You know, it's just incredible. We have the infrastructure that other countries don't have. They haven't got a clue. One of the comedians went to Baghdad, and she made a comment. She stepped out of the plane. The door opened. She stepped out of the plane, and she says, "Smells like ass." Well, guess what? Guess what all those asses are doing there? You know, they don't have bathrooms. They don't have toilet paper. You know, I mean, that's just, so many things we don't even think about, we take for granted. And it's really kind of a shame. You know, it's kind of like going to Disneyland and being in a bad mood, right? Walk around saying, "Oh man, this place sucks. You know, I wish I was happier," and like that. Going this ride? Oh, no thanks. I'm busy being miserable. You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy.
And those kind of people exist everywhere. I mean, there's people that just prefer to be unhappy, prefer to complain about just anything they can.
Yeah.
But I do know what you mean. You know, Americans, we take a lot of things for granted.
And we got a lot of problems, but we had problems back in the 1800s. We had problems back in the early 1900s. We've always had problems. And guess what? We're going to have problems in the year 2075. Guess what? It's going to be there, you know. Different problems. But we always have problems, but we always get through it. You know. But this is America. And it's a whole different ballgame than the rest of the world. And a lot of younger people think that all the world's just like us. You know. No. They opened up a McDonald's, and they had a picture I saw the other day on YouTube or whatever it was. And they had a picture of the grand opening of the first McDonald's that opened up in England. And the people were lined up as far as the eye can see to get their first Big Mac. Ooh. And that was a status symbol, you know, Big Mac. Yeah. But anyway, so we have this terrific country going on. And one of these days we'll talk about cars. I'm a car guy. I like cars.
I'm not really a car guy, but he'll talk about cars, and I'll just pretend like I'm very
pretend to be interested. Just nod your head once in a while, and just kind of.
Yeah, I remember that.
You encourage me a little bit, you know.
1963. Yeah, I know that one.
Cars. Oh, I love cars. And until Eisenhower, we didn't really have the roads. President Eisenhower. I mentioned his name earlier. I'm sorry. Not that I'm fixed on him, but he made the highway system, put everybody to work after the war. Made the highway system. They didn't just plop down from the sky. They were built by tens of thousands of people, out in the hot sun, out in the rain. I mean, they were built, and they're great now. And but it didn't used to be like that.
Sure wish they could find some sort of recipe to mix this asphalt so they don't have to repatch these fucking roads every 3 years.
Well, they have this new machine now that actually chews up the existing road, and it goes in a conveyor belt and goes in back, and they mix it and blend it with something else, and it comes out the ass end. It's kind of like it's kind of like a poop machine, right? It comes out the ass end, and it's new asphalt. The things they blend in with it, they're using the old road as rubble, as gravel, and they chop it all up, so the machine goes, you know, yeah, it takes all day to go a mile, but they have all these trucks bringing all the stuff in,
but still, they got to replace them every 3 years.
Oh yeah. So
they have. I always say this, but they have roads in Rome that are 2,000 years old that people still drive on to this fucking day. Well, they're made out of bricks.
No, they're made out of boulders. What are you talking about, bricks?
How many times have they replaced that road in the past 2,000 years?
Well, you can't replace a road that's made out of boulders. I mean, you know,
I
big
rest my
square
case.
boulders. Anyway, so yeah, bricks are bad on tires too. You know. But there's a history of the tire is incredible. Just the tire. You know, I went to a museum in Las Vegas, and it was at this Chinese place. I forget what it was. And it was on top floor, and you had to pay $9 or $6 to get in. And they had Duesenbergs. The guy was a Duesenberg nut.
What's that?
Duesenberg is an old car, a real fancy old car, but it's just it weighs 18 tons. It's just a huge car. Anyway, so they had all these cars there, 7 Duesenbergs, 6 or 7 Duesenbergs. But one of the cars they had was a '54 Mercury Montclair convertible, and it only had 6 miles on the odometer. 6 miles. It had never been on the highway. And that car was on, it had roped off and everything else. And of course, it didn't even have seat belts, right? It was 54. So I looked at it and I said, well, it just seems like a waste of time to have a car and just keep it in the museum forever, But some people have too much money. So anyway, but I looked at the tires on that car, stock tires, right? They were only about like that. They were like bicycle tires. You see those little bicycles out there with the fat tires? Mm-hmm. That's how thick they were.
You're talking about like from the rim to the ground?
No, I'm talking about the width. They were only that. They were only like 5 inches, not even 5 inches wide. They were
like a motorcycle tire.
Yeah, like a motorcycle tire. And that was the stock tire that came off the car. Well, back in those days, we had tens of thousands of people die every year, but they always died because, well, guess what? The tire blew out and they lost control of the car. And nobody's wearing seatbelts, so everybody was out the windows. So, and that's just the way it was. But bicycle tires, I looked at it, I was just stunned. I just stared at it for like 10 minutes. Like, people walk up and go, something wrong with that guy? But I couldn't believe it. So the tires were just crap. They were crap. And so it was the racing industry that developed the tires, and of course the companies and Dunlap and all the other companies, Firestone, Goodyear, they were all in competition to have their tires for the races and everything else, and they kept getting better and better. Now, all these years later, why am I saying all this? All these years later, I bought a new car, and it has something called run flat. Run flat. You get a flat tire, you don't get a flat tire.
Is there not a tube in it? I mean, is it
it's got
air or is it just solid rubber?
Well, it's not solid rubber. It's a run flat tire. In other words, I got a little thing on my dashboard, and it'll go off. It'll say tire pressure. It'll show the car and show which tire it was. And it'll say the tire pressure goes down to 31. It goes down to 27. It goes down to 17. It goes down. And I'm going down the highway, 70 miles an hour, and I'm watching my tire pressure go down, right? So when it gets down to 0, I said, well, I better look at this. So I pull it over and get out. It's not flat. It looks the same as all the other 3 tires on the car. And I said, oh, man. So I did get it fixed. I mean, you can't run on run flats with 4 flats forever. But I got it fixed. But I just, if you would have thought of that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they would have laughed you right out of the bar if you would have said that, right? But anyway, just so the cars have come along so incredible, so incredible.
What was your first car? And how old were you?
Let's see. Well, the Dead Sea was only sick, and I was the same age as Dirt. Let's see. My first car was a '54 Ford sedan, and I never drove it on the highway. I never drove it off my mother's ranch because we didn't have insurance for it. So I drove it around the ranch. Yeah, 160 acres.
But 160 acres.
160 acres. I'm going down dirt road and I'm feeling out of that. And I had a lot of fun with it. And
insurance wasn't mandatory back then, though.
No.
You just didn't want to take a risk.
My folks just wouldn't let me off the ranch. They would go down and lock the damn gate with a big old padlock. So if I was home alone. So
How long was the driveway?
The driveway was a quarter mile long. I can get up to 70 miles an hour in that quarter mile. But anyway, and slam on the brakes and turn sideways, you know. And then later on, I have to go and cover up the tire tracks so they didn't know what I was doing. But
You got any cool stories about that car? Anything?
no, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't have nobody.
You never took it off the ranch?
But I had one car. It was funny. Things were different back in those days, right? I bought a car for $30. It was a 1951 Ford Business Coupe.
Look that up. Look that up.
And it was competition orange. It was orange with black rims and black tires, right?
Like what kind of orange?
Oh, it was the brightest orange in the world. I mean,
Like Hunter orange?
Oh no, I don't know about what the brand names for orange.
No, I mean, have you seen those hunter hats at Walmart that are for hunters that are bright fucking orange? Is it that kind of orange? Or are we talking like
No, it wasn't fluorescent orange or anything.
a burnt orange?
No, it was kind of like orange. Anyway.
Did it look like a driving pumpkin?
No, it wasn't quite that orange.
Anyway,
but anyway, it was a little 6-cylinder and it was a stick, and I drove that on the highway, and I never took it home. I never took it home. I parked at a friend's house, and he drove me home.
Why?
Well, because I didn't want my folks to know I had a car.
Why?
Because they would take it away from me, because they took everything else away, right? I was a...
So how did you acquire all the money that is $30 back then?
Well, I worked at a turkey ranch.
A turkey ranch?
Turkey ranch.
How many turkeys did they have on that ranch?
40 billion.
No, seriously.
It was white, or as far as the eye could
White
see.
turkeys?
White turkeys, yeah. They were for
White
Thanksgiving.
turkeys?
They were Thanksgiving turkeys, yeah.
White?
White.
I didn't know turkeys were white.
Well,
You
those
sure
were.
they weren't Leghorn chickens?
No.
'Cause those are white.
These were big chickens then. No, that was turkeys. And so I made $1.25 an hour. And that was minimum wage. And it was minimum wage for a long time. And forever. And
You bought a car for $30.
$30, yeah. I bought that car. I drove it for about 2.5
That's
weeks.
just working 30 hours. That's less than working 30 hours.
Well, I had expenses.
I mean, like, you can make that in a couple days.
I was a smoker, and a pack of cigarettes cost 42 cents. A lot of overhead. Anyway, so I drove that. The car was kind of a kick in the ass. I'd be driving down the road. I look in my mirror, and there's this big plume of smoke. You ever see those cars that smoke a lot? Where the smoke goes like this, it goes in circles as you're going. It looked like an old World War I biplane going down, right? And that was me going down the road. And so finally, I pulled into a gas station and say, check the gas and fill up the oil.
This was back when they pumped your gas for you.
Oh yeah, put in $1.50 worth of gas and give you a half tank, and then put in 3 quarts of oil. But it burnt oil like crazy, and I don't even know what happened to that car. I think I just walked away from it at some point. But you ever do that? Well, you could do that in the old days, Just
I did that.
it wasn't registered to me or anything. I didn't have a bill of sale. I'm just driving this car down the highway.
I bought a car from my friend for $100. It was I think it was a 1991 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme. Burgundy car, yeah. And bought it from my friend for $100 because he just got a car, and I never did put it in my name, but I drove it for a long time. It was funny because in right in front of the passenger seat where the glove box is, there's like the dash where where there would be an airbag, but there wasn't on a 91 Cutlass Supreme. Normally where there's an airbag, my friend Jeremy Fulmer, shout out to Jeremy, cut out this little spot and put an empty NOS energy drink bottle there, mounted it in there, and then drew with a permanent marker a little line that went down to this button that was on the fucking console thing by the radio. Anyway, pushed that button that did nothing, and then pretend like I was going real fast. Like I'd make a psst noise and like step on it. I'd be like, hold on, I'd tell my friend. Anyway, I bought that car for $100. Yeah. And it made it. I drove it for a couple months, and it made it from Idaho Falls, Idaho, to Jacksboro, Texas. And then after, excuse me, And then after I was in Jacksboro for a little while, it broke down on the side of the road, and I was just like, I got my $100 worth.
Oh yeah.
I just said, man, peace out, car. And then like a few weeks later, I saw someone driving it around town. I'm serious. I was just like, hey. I mean, I couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like, give me my car back.
Yeah. I had a 1950 Chrysler New Yorker, the one that I got that stopped by the police in, and I think my grandmother bought it for me. It was $100.
Big step up from 30.
Yeah, it was a big boat. It was. I drove that car a lot. It was a big boat, big car. Had a fluid drive. No, they don't. People don't know what fluid drive is. You have to use the clutch to stop, and then you pull the clutch out to go. But when you shift, you just take your foot off the gas and put it back down again, and you hear this click, and you know you're in the next gear. And so it was easy to drive. Big steering wheel, you know, and didn't have a stereo or anything. Without the power was going to go out, right?
First the water went out.
Yeah.
Now the power's going out.
We ought to pay our bills here. Can't afford it. But anyway, so
What the fuck?
yeah,
It's an omen.
yeah. Our first podcast, and we were going to do it in the dark.
Yeah.
Well, we got a flashlight. Right?
See a evil spirit in the window.
Where-
You see
where's
it
it?
right there?
Yeah, the cat.
Yeah.
Where's the flashlight in case everything does go?
It's right there, holding
South
up
on
the
us.
phone so we can get this podcast recorded.
Okay. But anyway, you were saying you got
you
your money out of that car.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I did. But my first vehicle was a 1988 Chevy Silverado that you and Mom got me for.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember that thing. I remember walking. I remember you were taking it for a test drive before we had a registered license and all that. And I walked out of the house. We were in Idaho. I walked out of the house. I heard those.
I don't know what you're talking about.
This over revving the motor, going to 9,000 RPM. And I looked down and calmed down, and then here you guys come around the corner. You're out there redlining the car, the truck.
That's not something I would do.
I
You
don't know.
must be thinking of someone else.
Okay.
But yeah, had to see what it had, you know, see what I was working with.
Yeah, push the edge of the envelope a little bit.
Yeah,
blow
but
the motor up.
I got that truck before I really knew how to actually drive good. I just kind of knew the basics from watching people driving me around.
That's how everybody learns.
Yeah. But I do remember, you know, it's a big deal for a kid to, you know, get when they get their first. I think I was 16 or 17. They get their first vehicle, for them to go out on their own. You know, leave the house with mom and dad there, and go out on your own. You feel like a bad motherfucker that can't be stopped. But anyway, yeah, I went down the hill a little bit, went around the corner, thought I was far enough away, fucking floored it. I had to see what I was working with, and it was good. It was really nice. And then I remember I flipped around and came back around past the house, driving slow, casually.
Yeah.
And went down. This is when I lived out in Wapello, outside of Blackfoot, Idaho. That's where I graduated from, Blackfoot, Idaho. And I was just cruising down the side road. I think I was going probably like 30 or 40. I really wasn't going fast. But I wasn't used to looking at my mirrors. I was just looking ahead, you know, I'm a badass. I'm driving on my own. I hear a honk. Look in my rearview mirrors, this truck on my ass. Like, I think he wasn't flipping me off, but he was like going like that, saying, hurry up. I was like, oh shit. So I pulled over a little bit, let him go around me. He goes around me, he flips me off because I was going slow. I was like, okay, I guess I gotta watch my mirrors. That's just a random thought. That's a random memory.
Yeah. I think the worst car that I have, I've owned some real lemons, but the worst one, and I was so eager to get it. I just got out of the service, I just got married, and my first wife, and had a little bit of money, and I had good credit, and I bought a 1968 Corvette.
What color?
Silver. It was
Was it a Stingray?
that was a convertible. Yeah, it was. I paid $3,200 for it, and I think.
How old were you? Just out of the service?
So 24, 20, 23, 24.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oh, I love that car. It was such a cool looking car. It was just absolutely beautiful, beautiful car. However, it had a little problem. I could not get from point A to point B and back again without breaking down.
That is a problem.
That causes duress. And then when you break down, you have to call a tow truck, and then you have to sign a waiver saying that, well, you have a fiberglass body, and in case the body gets cracked when lifting the towing the thing, we don't want to be liable for it. Oh God, what a mess! It broke down all the time, all the time. It turns out it's my own fault. When I went to see the car initially, there's some red flags that went up, but I didn't pay any attention to them because I saw the beauty of the car. I didn't pay any attention to them. I just ignored them. Flags. Like when you see a pretty girl, you meet her and the red flags are going, and you say, oh well, she's hot, right? All right, so that compensates for everything. All the red flags, never mind the red flags. But it had a couple of red flags. Number one, it had G60 slicks all the way around, sticking out of the fender well.
I know exactly what that isn't.
Okay, that's a slick they use for dragsters. They're big, wide, and they're perfectly smooth. There's no tread on it.
Oh, the tires.
Tires,
oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Had deep mags and it had the slicks. That's the first red flag that went up that I failed to pay attention to. Number two, opened up the hood and it had a pie dish, a pie tin that was over the distributor and everything on
Like
top of
from
the motor.
Granny's homemade
Yeah,
pies?
it was improvised and it was tucked in and kind of riveted or whatever. It was covering there. I said, what is this? And the guy says, well, we had a little fire. Big red flag. Big red flag. And then
Does it go fast?
Who cares? Who cares? It's only the car had a fire, so what? So when I bought that car, oh man. And I bought it from the parents of the owner, some teenager who had it, some rich kid, because they had a big, beautiful home, yards and everything, and they had other toys, and they were selling it for their son, who I guess he took it to the drag strip and just beat the shit out of it. And then when it finally started breaking down, they said, well, go ahead and sell it. We'll get you a new one. So here I come. I bought that car. Golly. But it was the best looking non-running car I've ever owned. And then I find out years later that when they came up with that car, the 67 was kind of like the height of the Corvette. They had the Stinger hood and the 427 and all that kind of stuff, big motors. And that was like the epitome of the Corvette. Mm-hmm. The 68 was a big letdown for them. So a lot of the magazines, most of them, Road and Track in particular, Car and Driver, whenever they come up with a new car, they call the magazine people to come out and do an appraisal or do their opinion or whatever. They didn't even bother to show up on the 68 Corvette because they thought it was a piece of crap. Turns out they were correct. But
68 or 67?
68. 68. The year after the 67, which was, the 67s are sky high right now. Mm. The 68, you can buy one for a second hand, the same price as a second hand Volkswagen. But
so did you ever owned a car that if you had kept it up in good condition would be worth a lot of money right now? Or
no.
Yeah, me neither.
No.
Because there's a lot of old classics that were very common back in your day that are worth a lot now.
Yeah, well, so when I was in high school, the coolest car when I was in high school was a 57 and 58 Chevrolet Bel Air and the 58 Impala. Those are the coolest cars, and I couldn't afford it. So here I am, all these years later, and I can't afford it even now. I still can't afford it because they cost $60,000. And I can't spend $60,000 on a 57 Chevrolet. I'd be afraid to park it anywhere. You
gotta leave the ranch with it.
Well, yeah, I have to just put it on a pedestal somewhere, take the tires off, and say, I own one. Here's a picture of it. No,
never drive it.
No, if I have a car, it'd be a driver. Everything I have is a driver. And I had a Cadillac limousine one time when you were a baby, and It was a 84, and it was a stretch. It was a corporate stretch. It wasn't like the ones in the movies, or the stupid ones in the movie. It was a corporate stretch, which means it had seats facing each other in the back. And it was only like 23 inches longer than your regular Cadillac. But that was a cool car, but it was very underpowered. It had no power at all. Not because it was so heavy, it's just the motor was kind of, it had been smogged down and everything. And it wasn't fast at all. Couldn't pass anybody. And but it was a good car. It was cool. I kept it really looking sharp. But I like that car. And see, the cool cars that I've had. Yeah, just that Corvette and that Cadillac come to mind. The coolest car I've ever had is the one I have right now. It's so car with the run flat tires. Oh, I drive around the highway looking for nails. Hey, there's some nails over there.
Tell them what kind of car it is and why you like it.
Oh, well, I'll say, I don't know. It's a.
Besides the run flats, obviously. That was the...
Oh yeah, it's just a cool car. It does everything I want to do, and it has a motor that's just a little bit bigger than the lawnmower motor on my lawnmower. And the motor in this Cadillac is just a little bit bigger. 2.0. What's a 2.0? 2.0 is nothing. People have that for their generators out behind their house, right? 2.0. It's a small motor, very small motor.
It gets up and goes, though.
But they put a little thing called a turbocharger on it, and they have it worked out with a computer that is absolutely seamless. Back in the old days when you had a turbocharger, you give it the gas, and all of a sudden, things would happen. It pushed you back in the seat, and you could hear everything engage. And then when you backed off, you could hear it disengage. Now you don't even know it's there. It just. You don't even know it's there. You can't even tell. You can't even tell when it kicks in and when it kicks off. But when it kicks in, watch out. This stupid little car, it just takes off. It just takes off. So it does everything that I need a car to do. And I don't want to drive. They have cars now that go 190 miles an hour, 220 miles an hour. Why?
Population control.
Really, say this pod here becomes world famous, and we become celebrities, and all of a sudden, truckloads of money come our way, and everything else, and they say, Mr. Conklin, you can buy any car in the world that you want. Yeah, I'm going to buy a Lamborghini that goes 241 miles an hour. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to pay $1 million for it. If I had the money, why would I buy a car like that? To say I had one, or to watch an old man try and get out of something like that. No. And where am I going to go 200 miles an hour? Where? You have to put the car on a truck and drive to Nevada, and then go out there in between, with the roads just go straight line for as far as the eye can see, and then you have to hire somebody to go down the other end. 45 minutes later, when they call you, okay, the road's clear. And then you go out and you go 200 miles an hour. And then you have to hope.
Or you can go to the Autobahn.
You have to hope that during the time that you're going 200 miles an hour, that some sort of little animal doesn't try and cross the road because he doesn't see you coming. Because nobody sees you coming. And if you hit him at 200 miles an hour, it's going to leave a mark. It's going to really leave a big mark on the animal, for sure. But I mean, anything can happen.
Turn into a red mist.
Anything can happen, right? So you get a car. Oh yeah, this car goes 200 miles an hour. So what? So anyway, I'm not a race car driver, and I'm not. I don't hang around racetracks or anything like that. I'm not going to hopefully pay $40 and be able to drive my car 170 miles an hour around a track when just to do what? To try and wear the car out? Maybe I'll get a flat tire. No, wait, I won't.
If Ricky Bobby was your hero, you would want to go fast.
Yeah, well, they have this thing in Vegas where you can go and you pay so much money and they put you in a race car and you go with a race driver, and they take you around the track at 200 and some odd miles an hour, just to scare the shit out of you. You know, but things change. Things change a lot. You become an airplane. You're not a car anymore. You become an airplane.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bonneville Salt Flats. Bonneville Salt Flats are kind of an interesting place. That's where Bonneville.
Where's
yeah,
that?
it's up in Nevada somewhere. And it's where Patton trained his Third Army tank people that he had under his command. And to this day, from the space shuttle, you can look down and you can see the tracks that the tanks made. To this day.
I guess I don't know what story you're referring to.
Okay, well, I'm telling two stories at once.
Okay.
But anyway, the Salt Flats is where everybody went to try and win to try and go 200 miles an hour. They've been trying that since the 50s, you know, and incredible machinery and things. A lot of people died out there too. When you go 200 miles an hour and something goes wrong, it all goes south real quick. You know, you know. But yeah, it's pretty bad. But a lot of engineers and whatnot worked out a lot of things, high tech stuff that we have today that we take for granted. But yeah, my little car, I like it. It's has a couple things, one or two little things that are kind of annoying. The inside's a little bit small, I think, for a Cadillac. It's kind of a mid-sized car. It's not a big car, and but it scoots. It really scoots and does everything I want it to do. It looks cool too. So
I think if I had to, probably didn't have to, but I mean, my dream car is a Subaru Legacy Outback, newer one. I had a 2002 Subaru Legacy Outback that was the best car I've ever owned. I drove it for about, I think, 7 years.
yeah, you put a lot of miles in it.
Yeah, when I got it, there was 144,000 miles on it. And when I was done with it, when it finally kicked the bucket, there was 340,000 miles on it. Took that place, I took that car cross country a handful of times. It was just the most durable car. The only thing that went wrong with it, up until it, the transmission went out at the end, the only thing that I had to fix on it, the whole 7 years I had it, was I had to replace all 4 wheel bearings. Not at the same time, one at a time. But that was the only problem I ever had with it until the transmission went out at 340,000 miles, which I could have fixed it, but I think the dude quoted me, I think it was like $3,500 for new training for that. I was just like, you know what? I think that is done. At 340,000 miles.
Yeah, you got your money out of it.
I did.
Yeah.
But I ended up selling that car for it was, obviously I wasn't going to fix it up. I sold it for $150 to that motherfucker at K&K.
Yeah.
Kind of wish I had just let it sit. That way I can look at it and, feel nostalgic.
Yeah, it was a good little car.
It was.
But you got that kind of miles out of it. I mean, you drove it for that long a period of time. So, some cars are bulletproof. I had just before I went into service, I worked at a car lot, and it was adjacent to a new Lincoln Mercury dealership. And whenever somebody traded something in, their car went on my lot, the lot that I worked in. And so I had to go out there with a battery on a dolly and jumpstart every single car on the front row. And but there was a couple of clunkers in the back that were for sale real cheap, and nobody wanted them, so they just stayed there. And so, but there was one car. There was one car that started up every day. It was bulletproof, absolutely bulletproof car. It was an old Studebaker, old stupid-looking Studebaker, the one that had the buggy eyes and the little nose in the middle. I think it was a 50 or 51, 49 Studebaker. It would start every day. Boom, start. All the other ones I had to nurse. Even 3, 4-year-old Cadillacs and a couple old Lincolns and
batteries would just die after a few days.
You just can't have a car like that sit. But they were just wore out. Either that or they all had worn out batteries at the same time. Go figure. But they went down to, they had me, they needed a driver. So I went down to the dealership and they said, hey, Mike, we want you to drive this car and take it over to such and such a place. I said, okay.
Oh, and you were a transporter.
Well,
You
no,
started
no.
getting in the mob and you started running errands for the mob as a driver?
No.
Oh.
This car was a brand new Mercury Cyclone. It was the one that had the big motor.
They packed a lot of drugs in the trunks and had you run some errands?
No. This thing was 4-speed on the floor. It was yellow with black interior. And this thing was a screamer. That was a
Loud as
screamer.
fuck?
Oh, man. It wasn't loud. It was a stock. It was a showroom. But I burned through those gears like, oh, my God. I terrorized everyone in downtown Napa, California. I terrorized everybody for about a half hour. It took me a half hour to get to where I was going. I was only like 6 blocks away. But I just took a detour, because you can't go from 0 to 60 in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
Like they could done in those days.
I know you've always had this thing with cars, and my whole life.
I love cars.
You've always, yeah, and that's cool. My whole life, you've always enjoyed driving.
I love driving.
Any road trip we've ever went on, and you drove there and back. Did you ever have a job where you were a driver of some sort?
I drove truck. I drove truck for 10 years.
Pumpco?
Pumpco,
Yeah. Okay,
oil field truck,
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Sometimes.
Anything like older, like when you were younger? Did you ever drive for a job, or never had an opportunity like that?
No, I was working at a grocery store for 18 and a half years being a butcher. So I just drove to and from work there.
Yeah.
The only time I did any serious driving was like on vacations or something like that when you go to a different state. But no, went to Idaho from Texas. Remember? Yeah, you were with me on that one. We went to, we were going to drive from Texas to Idaho. And so we get the car all loaded up. We got things on the roof. We got the Ford Explorer, 94 Ford Explorer. And a cute little car. Good car. And so we get in the car and we head out. And we drive for about 2.5, 3 hours. And this one here says, how much longer? Are we there yet? Oh, yeah, we're almost there.
By the way, I'm the baby of 7 kids. So I was the youngest kid growing up. But yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I have to pee.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Take a family on vacation. It can be, it's a lot of fun, but it can be a nightmare too at the same time.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it.
One of my favorite jobs was when I worked in Idaho Falls at the Red Lion Hotel I was the bellman / shuttle driver.
Uh-huh.
And I was always going to and from the airport, picking people up, taking them to the hotel, making tips, and getting paid hourly. It was the most funnest job because I made good money there, and there was just always something going on that was fun and enjoyable. There was one time that I picked up the band Stained from the airport. I'm not a huge Stained fan. I don't really like them that much. I used to, but picked them up from the airport, took them to go get Subway, went and took Aaron Lewis on a shuttle drive to this massage therapy lady's house. Smoked a doobie with them. It's cool. And brought him back. Every time that I did something for him, whether it was taking them to and from wherever or bringing them up some towels or something to their room, $20. Just palm me a 20 each time. So anytime I answered any call, $20 richer. But that was cool because he was playing a show in Idaho Falls that day, or that weekend or whatever. A few weeks before that, the band Blue October was in town playing a show. I didn't get to meet them. I saw them, but I didn't get to meet them or anything. But there was just always. It was just a fun job. It really was.
Every time I shake his hand now, he looks down to see if there's a $20 bill in it.
Yeah.
There isn't.
No.
But
Sad. But being a shuttle driver at that hotel was cool. Being a bellman, I miss that, man. But Other than that, I was a driver for Pizza Hut for a while. It was a good job, and it just seemed like one day people stopped tipping as much as they once did. Like it was just a matter of like over a week's time. The job went from being a good job to just, man, I'm struggling.
Yeah.
I lived off tips from being a driver for a few years, and then it got really hard, so I had to switch. But those are the only 2 jobs I've had as a driver.
I had we had a limousine, that 84 Cadillac limousine.
Oh yeah.
I rented that out. And people, here's the thing, really stupid, dumb. I got a limousine, and so everybody who sees the car or whatever says, "Oh man, you really gonna make a hauling on prom night and New Year's Eve?" Okay, well, think about that just for a second. Okay. Prom night and New Year's Eve, I have one car, right? I'm the driver. So there's 2 nights a year that I'm just gonna make a hauling. Ooh, where's my 401k? I'm just gonna dump money in it. Two days. That's what everybody says. Oh, prom night. Oh man, I only got one car.
How much are you making one night? $100?
Well, yeah, maybe. But
That's a killing.
so I went out. So I got the car, and these people hired me for I think $225 for the night for New Year's. Okay.
$225?
Yeah,
for a night.
Back in the old days.
Oh.
And so I'm driving them around, and I'm wearing a suit. I don't wear the hat, but I'm wearing a suit, and I'm opening the doors for them, and I'm doing it. And they go to this one bar, and I'm standing outside waiting, and the bar is jumping.
Are you dressed up like nice and tux or suit?
No tux,
suit and tie?
just a shirt and a jacket. No, nothing.
Like button up,
No, not like European chauffeurs, with the hat and gloves and all
shirt
that.
tucked in.
Oh yeah,
You
sure.
got slacks. Nice slick shoes.
Nice shoes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I look like a limo driver. Whatever that looks
Wait,
like.
you said no hat.
No hat.
That's not a limo driver.
Okay, I'm not
You
like
look
one.
like kind of a limo driver.
I was sort of maybe I want to be a limo driver.
There you go.
Right?
Okay,
All right.
continue.
So I'm sitting out there and I'm waiting for them, and they come out and they are all shit faced. I don't know what the hell they were doing. They're probably burning down shots. They are all shit faced, right? So I'm driving. They have another destination. Okay, I know how to get there. So I'm driving down the road, and the car starts doing this. So what are you guys doing back there? You had the window up, man. And they're just dancing around and grab assing, and they're just really raising hell, right? And so I said, well, cool, because I see a policeman, CHP, Highway Patrol, has somebody pulled over, and then the cops and people are out there they can see us drive by, right? Mm-hmm. One guy, I don't know which one it was, one guy rolls down the back window and sticks his bare ass out of the window as we drive by the policeman. I'm going, I think I was sinking down in my seat like, oh God, yeah, that was my big money maker night. Yeah, I can't wait to go into that business again.
I thought you were going to say that the car was going like this and looked back and they were having an orgy.
Oh, no, they were just grab assing around. That was god awful. It took me hours to clean up the back.
Well, you're lucky that Dirty Mike and the boys didn't go in there. Have a
yeah, I know, limousine drivers.
hobo orgy.
Limousine drivers get a bad rap, I know, and they put up with a lot of crap too. But I'm a driver. I like driving.
Were you like your own private service?
Private, yeah.
Okay, so what'd you do? Did you put an ad in the paper and say, hey, I got a limo, give me a call?
Yeah, a little ad in the paper, and then the other limousine companies started calling me up and saying, you got the right amount of insurance? Because if you don't, we're going to turn you in.
Those motherfuckers.
Oh yeah, they were like that. These are larger companies that have, like a fleet of cars, right? 12, 15 drivers.
You're breaking their bank.
And they're worried about me. They're worried about me making $200 a year. $300 a year. The car didn't pay. The renting the car out and driving didn't pay for the car. But it was fun. I enjoyed it. But I did notice one thing. There was one limo driver, this one woman. I went to a restaurant, and I made it a point. It's kind of like classy. It's classy to when you drive somebody somewhere and they go in, you get the door for them and all that, and you get to go in, and then you stand in front of the car. You don't lean against the car. You don't sit back and smoke cigarettes. You don't open the door and listen to rap music. You don't yeah, I'm a driver. You don't do that.
Black and yellow.
You don't do that. You stand and in attention, and not attention, but you stand and being attentive and vigilant, okay? And you keep an eye on the car, keep an eye on people around, and when they come out, you keep an eye on the crowd, see if anybody's gonna bum rush them or do anything stupid, because you never know what you do if that happens. I jump in the car. I jump in the car and drive away.
Sorry, lady.
Dodge the bullet. No, but the
You should
thing
have
is,
tipped.
so I'm standing there, and there was a place in this restaurant where you go down, and there was, went around. So this limousine, this white limousine, I mean, it was a stretch. Not one with a hot tub in the back.
Like how many windows we got in the back?
1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it was a full stretch Cadillac limousine.
How many did yours have in the back?
2. I had three on the side.
Okay,
anyway.
so it's like okay.
All right. So anyway, so this
Does the
car.
limousine have a trunk?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you got to put the body somewhere. But anyway, so this limousine comes. I'm standing there and I'm waiting. People are having dinner, whatever they're doing, and this limousine comes around and lets people off, and then goes down and goes around there and swings around and goes, pulls right in.
In front of you?
No, pulls right in down the hill a little bit. I mean, I didn't go down there because I was worried about being able to turn around and get out, right? And this person just drives down there and goes, mew, mew, boom. And I'm like, man, that person knows how to drive a limousine. I really didn't. And that car's longer than mine. I mean, I didn't go down there because I was worried, because you have a long wheelbase and you just can't, maneuver around.
Yeah.
That person drove down there like it was a hot knife through butter. Incredible. But, there's a lot to be said. I had fun a couple of times, except that New Year's thing. Nightmare. But I took my a girlfriend to a New Year's party one time, and we went to this party and we got drunk. We were commode hugging.
What did you used to drink? Because I know that you don't.
I drink these wimpy drinks, pussy drinks. I drink strawberry daiquiris.
Well, I mean that's rum.
It is rum.
You never did do straight shots?
Oh hell no!
No beer?
No beer. I can't do a straight shot of water. But anyway, pussy drinks. Anyway, but I just got 3 sheets to the wind. We were just drunk.
How many daiquiris did you have?
Well, any more than 3 gets me drunk because I don't drink. There's 3 of them, and I'm just.
I've only seen him drink one time in my whole 32 years walking this earth.
Yes, it was a milestone. It was all right. Yeah. But anyway, so I had to drive home, right? So here it is, 1 o'clock in the morning, New Year's Eve.
Were you in your limo?
No.
Okay.
This is a couple years before.
Uh-huh.
So I get in the car, and I said, well, okay, there's hardly any traffic. So the most traffic is probably going to be police. Probably going to be the police, because they're going to, So I get in the car, and we're driving down the road, and we see a car coming about 3 blocks away. And so I pull over and stop, turn off the lights, turn off the motor.
That's not suspicious at all.
No, but I'm not drunk driving.
Oh my God.
I was drunk. Oh God. I was drunk. And the car goes by, and it wasn't a policeman. Kind of like Cheech and Chong in that movie, where the ambulance goes by and they're eating a bag of marijuana. It's one of those deals, right? But
I wish they still made movies like that.
Oh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Those guys were so fun. Dave's not here.
Huh?
Dave's not here.
Oh.
Hey, open the door, it's Dave. Dave's not here. It was funny. That was pretty funny stuff. And then later on, they went on to become movie stars. They really did. They really became
Cheech and
celebrities.
Chong?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tom and Chong.
They weren't just, little dopers and making stupid things. They became celebrities. I admire them for that.
I watched recently a podcast that Tommy Chong was on. I think it was Joe Rogan's. But he's like doing really good.
Yeah.
Still stoner, no surprise.
Yeah.
Apparently, a big part of what he was talking about in his podcast was he's found his fountain of youth, his thing that makes him feel young, and it's dancing. He said, I believe, I could be wrong, he said, he was never good at dancing. It was something he never did. It was always uncomfortable for him. But breaking through that comfort zone really made him feel young again, and he did it. And he said it really brought him and his wife closer together, and like really strengthened their relationship. So
maybe that's the answer. America needs to start dancing. Because if you're dancing, nobody cares if you're a Republican or Democrat or independent. You're just dancing.
Well, shit, get on TikTok. There's that's what people are doing for these.
They're dancing?
Yeah, there's this app now, like Facebook and Snapchat and Instagram, called TikTok, where you can just make short little videos. Some of them are actually pretty funny. There's this, my favorite one is this angry grandma. Shit, she's just really vulgar, and the dude with the camera, he's always recording her. And he's the one that's always fucking with her. There's one where he pranked her. He handed her a thing of Pepsi or something and some Mentos, and he said like, put it in, it's gonna turn the soda blue. And so she put them in, and he goes, and she's like, motherfucking, all over the floor. She's really fucking funny. But anyway, there's a lot of people on TikTok that make TikTok videos. Dancing videos. And so a lot of people are dancing right now. That's something that I never.
And it's good for you too.
It is.
It's good for your body. Yeah.
That's something I could never really do. Kind of like I said about Tommy Chong. It's something that's just a little out of my comfort zone. Like, unless I'm drunk. There's a couple of videos of me dancing drunk. Which,
blackmail.
Yeah. Don't worry about finding those anywhere.
Today we were dancing with a weed eater.
Yeah. Yeah. That weed eater, by the way, that was a good weed eater.
Badass.
It was the brand from Walmart called Hart, H-A-R-T. I'm looking at the box right now.
Yeah. We just took it out yesterday.
Yeah, but it's a battery powered, just like a power drill, big old 40-volt battery, and we got our whole front yard and side yard weed eated on one charge, and then it still had some juice left. Anyway, as a damn good investment.
Yeah.
How much was it?
$159, I think.
That was good.
160 something out the door. But every once in a while you buy something that's really cool and it works and you're worth the money. It's worth the money and you're glad you bought it, right? But a little while back I bought a paint sprayer because I was going to spray the roof. Oh my God! So I was real excited.
Paint.
I used my charge card, right, and Amazon. I bought this $246 paint sprayer. I didn't buy the cheap one. I didn't buy the $500 one. I bought the one for $240.
Wagner. Fuck you, Wagner.
Anyway, so we get it. So
$240.
we got the whole thing all worked out. I got the paint. And I got everything. We logistically, we're going to go on the roof. We're going to start there. We're going to work our way back.
We're painting the roof.
We're going to do the whole thing, and it's going to take us about 2-3 hours. Oh no! This paint sprayer, it sprays water, real good. Sprays water like crazy. It sprays paint thinner. Paint.
Yeah.
Dribble.
It's like a bead of just a.
So he said, well, you have to dilute it. Okay. Well, it costs you $40 a gallon for the paint because it's a roof paint. $40 a gallon. And then you got to put in a gallon of 50/50, a gallon of paint thinner.
Which is $11 a gallon, right? 12?
Well, 12. Well, mineral spirits are $12 a gallon. Well, shit. How much is it going to cost me to paint my roof? Now counting.
This isn't what I imagined we'd be talking about on the podcast.
Me neither.
That's okay.
I'm really disappointed, and so it didn't work out at all. It was
just in case somebody that's listening was gonna buy a paint sprayer. Now they know not to get Wagner.
Talk to a painter. Talk to somebody in the business. Talk to somebody who does it for a living, and go look and see what kind of equipment he has or she. Look at their equipment that they use to make a living. All right, and then buy that brand and that model, whatever. then you know what you're getting, okay? But if you just look at the picture, and of course they send you a little video.
They make a nice, neat little video.
Oh yeah, that's
Professionally recorded.
Well, and they look so easy. I mean, bullshit. Oh man, it was a nightmare. So we ended up painting my roof with a mop. A mop. I went and bought to Walmart and bought a mop. I bought 5 mops for $1.94, $1.74 a piece. And just dipped it in the can and went. I felt like I was doing a retake of Shawshank Redemption when they're doing the roof. Yeah, that's me. That's me up there doing this with a stupid ass mop.
Ended up taking like, what, a little over a week?
God. I go up there for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. Of course, when you stop, you have to throw the mop away. That's why I bought so many. Because I don't want to use another gallon of mineral spirits to clean them up to save what? $1.74. So the mop goes, and bring in a new one. Next time I go up there, I went through 5 mops. Anyway, and then the paint, I bought 5 gallons of paint. And it was all supposed to be gloss. Special paint, $40 a gallon. It's all supposed to be gloss. Well, they happened to sneak one in on me that was flat. Well, I didn't know. How do you tell, right? I didn't look at the can. But anyway, because all the cans were the same, I went up there and opened them all up, and here we go, right? And so everywhere that I painted with the gloss, you can see it. And the one can that I used that was flat, it goes on wet. Looks like all the other cans, right? And when it dried with flat. So I got this one area of my roof that's green, flat, and the rest is glossy. What do? Go up and paint it again?
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually. It's on the back burner.
Yeah, just like the back half of the roof.
Yeah, the roof's like this, right? So this is the front half and this is the back half. Well, you don't see the back half because nobody ever goes out there. It took 5 cans of paint.
$200 in paint.
$200 in paint, and 3 gallons of paint, mineral spirits, and then $260 or $40 for that water sprayer. It was just, oh no, it was a bad deal. But I got a green roof.
Yeah, there you go.
I am so excited. Things to do,
Yeah.
But the weed eater, we were talking about the weed eater. Well, man, it's $160 out the door, and this thing is just bulletproof. It's just really great, and recommend it. I didn't want to get a gas one because then you have to mix the oil with the gas, and you spend the rest of your life doing this. Screw that. I just go.
That's actually pretty nice, not having to start it each
really
time.
Really nice. So, does the job too.
Question. Revolving the door a little bit here. The first time that you smoked weed, was it in Vietnam?
No.
Was it before you went?
Yeah, one time. But I didn't really smoke it. It was more like a contact high.
Tell us about that, if you don't mind. Do you want to like talking about it?
It was the night I got arrested.
Oh, that sounds like a good one. Hit me.
I associated myself with a outlaw motorcycle club when I was 18 years old.
What were y'all called?
We were called the Pagans.
Pagans.
The Pagans, yeah.
Did y'all believe in the pagan gods?
No, we didn't have anything to do with it.
That's just
it's just a cool name.
It's a cool name.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a party at Tex's house. Tex was a big old bear, a great big guy, the kind you see in movies, and hairy chest and just 300 pounds, great big guy. And he had a garage out in back where he kept his bikes and stuff. And so we had a party there. Well, we found out
at this party. Were you drinking?
No, I don't drink.
You're just hanging.
I'm just hanging.
Cool.
Okay. I have a soda.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What kind of soda? Root beer?
No, I was a Pepsi guy at the time.
Oh.
Yeah.
The glass bottles?
Yeah.
That's before they were plastic, huh?
Yeah.
Everything was glass.
Everything was glass.
Okay.
But make a long story longer, they had the speaker, and John Brewer and I were sitting in this couch. He had couches out there, like bikers have couches in their garages, right?
John Brewer is his best friend that he went to school with.
Yeah, best friend ever. And so they were smoking grass and going around and loud music and whatnot. And
Were
it
they
was a
smoking
party.
doobies or were they smoking bowls?
No bowls. They were just smoking joints.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So-
what a doobie is.
It is.
Doobie, joint, same thing. Sploof.
So what happened with the band called the Doobie Brothers? Are they all joints?
They're smoking joints
Think so?
together like brothers.
Okay.
Because I doubt that their last name was Doobie. I could be wrong.
Darn. Okay. The things you learn, I'm still learning stuff.
I hope I'm wrong on that because if their last names were Doobie or are Doobie, that'd be badass.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, the Doobie Brothers, they have a marijuana farm somewhere. But anyway, so I was sitting, it was a contact high. I didn't smoke it, but everybody else was around me and the air was thick, the smoke was thick in the air. And I think I got a contact high and I could see from the speaker, I could see notes coming out.
So you were straight up hallucinating.
It was almost, yeah. That's the first
So
time I
these
ever
notes-
the first time I ever was exposed to it.
What do you mean like these notes? Like animated like clef notes just going
Yeah, just like notes, the little flags on them, and they're just coming out of the box like that.
I wonder if they were smoking like maybe some weed that was laced with opium.
Well, I don't know. It smelled like marijuana. It's got that certain smell to it. But anyway, so because we found out just before the party started that a couple of Hell's Angels were going to come down. Yeah, the
Heavy hitters.
big boys, the hardcore. And so, if any small biking group, we had 9 members, right? We were a small, insignificant outlaw motorcycle club. We had 9 members, and so when you have a couple of Hell's Angels come down, ooh, it's like having the president drive through the ghetto. And so they're like, ooh, and so they came, but they came in a car. So they weren't worried about us, I guess. So they came in the car. But before they came, the guys in the group, John and I.
Make some more
Okay,
yerba.
yeah. John and I were the youngest ones, the youngest members. We were, 17, 18. And most everybody else in the club was in their 20s, and one guy was in his 30s. And so they didn't want the Angels to come down and realize that there's a bunch of kids down here, right? So they had me wear a motorcycle mask. Right? So
Just you or you and John?
Me and John, so that they wouldn't know how young we were. Okay, and I can see the logic.
Yeah, of course.
And it seemed logical at the time. So, so they showed up.
Keep talking. I'm gonna go piss.
All right. So they showed up, and they were dancing and playing with the music and doing biker stuff. And John and I had these masks on, and we were walking around like we were really cool. And so after about 2.5 hours of that, being a contact high and also the smoky garage and that loud music, and it's kind of like, man, I need a breath of fresh air. Whew. This is thick in here, right? So I walked out.
Hey, so wait, this was the party with the Hells Angels?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of them showed up.
And the Hells Angels were smoking grass.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to put money on the fact that grass was laced if you were hallucinating. Because you don't hallucinate on weed.
Yeah, but I wasn't smoking it. I mean, it was just secondhand smoke. Just secondhand smoke.
Opium or
I
something.
don't know. Anyway, so I got stuffy. It got real stuffy. So I decided to take a break. So I opened the door in the garage and I walked out and it was like, whew. And I walked down.
Still wearing your mask.
I forgot about the mask because I was half stoned, right? So I walked down the driveway, a short driveway, and I went down about 2 houses to the corner. I went down 2 houses to the corner, and just when I was walking and enjoying the fresh air, and it was quiet night, and I walked around the corner, I hear this, I hear about 3 cars starting, all at the same time. So I turned around, and all of a sudden, car headlights. So I jumped over a hedge, and laid down flat.
How tall was this hedge?
About
Waist high?
Waist high, yeah. I jumped over the ledge and laid down flat, and I was dressed in black. black everything, socks, shoes, shirt,
Undies.
and mask, right? I'm laid down, and the car pulls up. A couple guys get out, and I open one eye. I'm laying there. I open one eye. There's a flashlight illuminating my whole head, and the policeman says, "All right, get up." I don't know why. But I turned around and said, "Me?" He didn't see the humor in it very much, So they they put me in the car and took me downtown and took my picture a couple times, and I was out the next day. And that was the only time I've been in jail was the night of the Hell's Angel party. It turns out when the Hell's Angels come to town, everybody snitched them out. Oh,
I was gonna say
the
the
Hell's
cops-
Angels are in town. So the neighborhood, there's a party going on. There's motorcycle people there. So they call the police. The police come out and say, well, they're not too loud and nothing much we can do. And here comes some yahoo wearing a ski mask walking away from the party, and that was me.
jumping over a hedge.
Jumping over a hedge.
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably got wind that the Hells Angels are
Oh
rolling
yeah,
into
they were
town.
watching. Yeah, they were watching. They used to watch wherever they went. They had helicopters following them. I mean, they were. But I was in the era of the outlaw motorcycle gang thing before it became ugly, before it became serious, before it got involved in
You mean like the money and drugs and
drugs, prostitution, guns, criminal activity. Before it got into all that it evolved into that.
So this was back whenever
60s.
people actually were in motorcycle clubs because they loved motorcycles.
They loved to ride, and that's why I was there. I loved to ride, and I bought a Harley Davidson in a basket, which means 1,000,000 pieces, and I needed help to put it together because it'd be like trying to put an engine in a car together. Unless you know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. So everybody helped me. All the guys helped me.
I was telling, my friend Dub, shout out Dub Little, about how you got that motorcycle in a basket, and he would be someone that you'd probably enjoy talking to. He's a biker, he knows a lot about motorcycles and stuff like that. All around good dude.
Yeah.
I miss working with him at the Wildcatter. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
It was a dangerous bike. It was a dangerous bike. When I finally got it, it scared me when I finally got it. And it's one thing. It's one thing to come, every night to go and do something with the bike, put this on, and then the next day you do something with the bike, and you spend 4 months of all your spare time messing with this bike to get everything, to get the wires, to get the brakes. And
Was there like a manual you had to read? Or?
No, it was just guys. The guys would come along Jay's house. I lived with Jay at the time. Guys would come along, biker guys, right? He'd come along and say, "Hey, where are you on this? Oh, here, let me help you with that." And so I let them all help me. And so they put everything together except the motor. And took the motor down to on the other side of the railroad tracks. This retired Hell's Angel, this old guy. He looked like like Moses, and great big guy. And he had a bike shop, and all the bikers went there. He worked in Harley Davidson, the Indians, and he put my motor together for $80. And he said, "Oh yeah, you were missing a couple parts. I just threw them in there." I said, "Okay. How am I going to know? If you look at a whole box full of engine parts, the pistons and the rings, and everything, how are you going to know if something's missing? If you just look at the box." So anyway, he got my motor put together.
Get motor on.
And then another guy came over and wired it, and then wired it all up and got everything all taken care of. And he stands back and says, "Okay." I said, "Okay, what?" "Well, go ahead and start it." I said, "Me?" Yeah, I've been working on it and everything, thinking about it and all that. And when it come time to actually start it, I went, "What?" So it was kind of like hesitation.
Is this real life?
Yeah.
Is it really this?
So I started it, and boy, it was very loud. It was very loud. The only thing I spent money on was upsweeps, the exhaust pipes that come out and they go up on one side. Oh, that's really cool. That's how you tell a chopper. And chopper pipes. And I really, but it was real loud, real loud. And it turns out, I find out later, that the distributor was 180 degrees wrong. It was backwards. And it would fit in because of the two screws on either side, it would fit in either way. But unless you really knew what you were doing, you could easily put it in backwards. It was a 1951 panhead. Panhead. It's called a panhead. You had panheads, you had knuckleheads, you had a few other things, but trikes, flatheads, right? Any water?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
Water's back on.
Okay.
Also, my friend at the Wild Canada that I used to work at, Donnie, miss you too, bud. He's a biker, and Dakin, miss him too. But
I was stupid. I mean, I was young and stupid, and I did weird things. After you get the bike all together, after all that, I never even went down and got it registered. I never didn't even have a license plate. Who cares, right? It's my bike. I'm driving down the highway.
there wasn't a license plate in the basket.
No. But I didn't have the upsweeps, the ape hangers, because that's you don't have control of a motorcycle. I had stock handlebars, and I did have what they call a suicide clutch. Had a little cage, it's the old fat boy type of antique cages where you have little notches for your gears. Well, I took that off because it didn't look cool, and the whole bike was painted flat black. And so I had this handle sticking up, and so I just had the clutch. It wasn't a clutch like some motorcycles have. It's like a car clutch. So you lean over to one side and you put your foot on the clutch and you go, you get your gear and you wait for the light to change or wait to take off, right? But if your bike happens to do this while you're sitting there and you have to suddenly take your foot off the clutch, away you go. It was a dangerous bike. It was a very dangerous bike. One time I walked up the back of a 55 Pontiac. John Brewer was in the back, and he was on the back, and so and I got the clutch, I got it in first gear, and we're waiting for the signal and whatnot, and he's on the back, and he goes, and the bike goes, and before I could get it out of gear, I was going to hit the ground with it, right? So I took my foot off to catch the bike, and we went boom, 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 boom. The bike was standing straight up in the air, and Johnny's on his ass, and I'm standing up.
So what causes it to go with the weight being shifted? What causes it to go?
Any movement you do.
What?
If you have a motorcycle, you come to a complete stop, and you have to lean to the right with your right foot on the ground, and instead of doing this with the clutch, you put your foot on the pedal,
Yeah.
and put it in gear. Okay, and you sit there and wait. If anything happens where it starts going that way, you have to take it out of gear to catch yourself.
So how is it that you just shift the balance and that's what causes it to go?
What causes it to go is when you take your foot off that clutch, you're going.
Okay, so if you take your foot off, like if you start going this way and you have to put your left foot on the ground.
You have to, okay, off you go.
I thought it was like something.
Very dangerous
I
bike.
don't know.
But it wasn't as dangerous as some of the guys. Some of the guys had the, number one, the ape hangers. Which
He doesn't like those.
God awful, just god awful. Not only that, you get bugs in your armpits. Anyway, so you get the ape hangers, right? And then these guys had suicide clutches, and they lean back on the bike, so the ape hangers are up, the handlebars are up here. And then in order to shift, they had a crescent wrench that was welded to the top of the transmission. And so you put in the clutch with your left foot, and you have to find the gear with your left hand. It was crazy. It was crazy. Of course, the choppers never had a front brake, so it was just a dangerous bike. But I did stupid things with it, So, but I drove it for about 2 months, maybe 3, and then I went in the service. So, but grand total, I think I had a grand total of $400 in the bike. Grand total, from beginning to end.
You want another cup of this? You get.
Yeah, I think I will. Okay, if you don't mind.
Oh, there's only enough left for me. Just kidding.
Okay. But anyway, it was an experience. I wouldn't do it again. I haven't ridden a Harley Davidson since, and that was 1966.
So if I pulled up with a Harley Davidson Fat Boy, handed you the keys and said, "Here you go, it's yours," you would not drive it.
Oh, I would ride it.
So if my friend Dub showed up with his Harley Davidson and said, "Here, you want to drive my bike?" You wouldn't drive it.
I would drive it. I would drive it.
You're that Dub?
But I wouldn't do anything stupid like I used to do. You know?
Oh yeah.
See, I didn't have a front brake because choppers didn't have front brakes in those days. So I took the whole brake system off. It was just a wheel. So and I didn't have a front tire, a front fender. And then I had the upsweeps. It was cool. It was cool. Yeah. And but one of my little hobbies was to drive around Vallejo, and being that I only had a rear brake, and when you step on the brake, it would squeal like a tire, it would squeal like a car. You know, like when you lock up your brakes, it goes, you know. All right, but you only have one tire doing that.
Yeah.
So what I would do is I would guesstimate how fast I was going and what gear I was in. I put it in neutral, get up to about 30 miles an hour, put it in neutral, and I would coast up to a car and then slam on the brake so it would squeal. And then I'd slowly lean the rear tire out and lean the bike down. Not lay it down, but just lean it like this. And so the people in the car would hear the squealing tires, look in the rearview mirror, and see me coming sideways. And I had people just drive through intersections when they saw me coming. They just take off. They figured I was going to, ram them, or because I was a hoodlum, I might beat them up. You know, why are you in my way? Yeah. But yeah, the outlaw motorcycle clubs became kind of they went criminal and a little more to my liking, and I decided not to get involved. I disengaged from them, you know.
That's pretty good.
And I went to service. That's a good way to disengage from anything. Yeah, join the service for 4 years and see whatever you were engaged in before. Never mind.
Yeah,
because you're in the service now.
Yeah, and you know it's good. You know, that kind of lifestyle, especially back then when it started to get ugly and stuff. I'm sure that lifestyle is one that is in and out of jail all the time, in and out of prison all the time.
That is a very large consideration, because when you go to a party or you hang around outlaw bikers, right? The one thing they all have in common, every one of them has something in common, aside from the bikes and aside from the lifestyle. They all have lawyers and retainers.
Yeah.
And I don't have money for a lawyer. I want to go in and out of jail, you know, and the cops would, you know, pull you over and run you through the mill.
Yeah.
But because you're high profile, you know. I'm gonna get some sugar.
Okay.
Continue.
So recently, interesting topic, the Pentagon released video archive footage that was from back in 2005, 2008 era of UFOs. And it's funny because with everything that's happening right now in the world and stuff, it was just kind of like brushed under the rug. Like, yeah, well, it's not a big deal. I mean, really, there's a lot like, bigger deals present right now. But do you feel like that is the government finally telling us, yes, aliens are real, and that's kind of like the first step? Release the videos, because you don't want to just, like, I know they're real. I don't have any doubt that they're real, because, anyway, if the government wanted to tell or, you know, these secret agencies or whatever wanted to tell us that they're real, they wouldn't want to just give everything to us at once, because we'd be like, you know, you want to ease into it. You don't want to, you know, percent of what you got, you give them 5% at a time. And over this course of 6 months, like, wow, here it all is. You don't want it all at once.
But then it works the other way too. You don't want to. You want to just kind of break into it easy before you tell them it's all bullshit.
You think it's all bullshit? So what do you think?
Okay. Here's Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock, and they get in and they travel for 26 years. 26 years. They're frozen or whatever they are, right? And they finally get to their destination. In other words, a year before a year before they get there, the ship turns around and deaccelerates.
That's not how they do it in Star Trek.
I know.
They come to a complete stop in
They go,
space.
and everybody slams into the window. So they deaccelerate, and then there they are, hovering around the planet of their destination. So what are they going to do? They're going to take a little shuttlecraft down there and set cows on fire and cut up sheep and poop a snoop and then leave without leaving a trace? Really? Yeah, okay, yeah.
So what do you think? Did you see these? Did you see the video?
Yeah, they're.
Oh yeah, I showed it to you.
Yeah.
You don't think there's any? You think it's just bullshit?
Yeah.
Well, what do you think the videos are?
I don't know. You can do anything with a camera now. Anything.
So you think that the Pentagon just released bogus ass videos?
I don't know. I don't. What are they going to be? Just a drive-by? Are they going to come by and say, "Hey, what a pretty planet! It's got water on it." Okay. Where are we going? Okay. That's it. They just
I don't.
drive by, take a few pictures out the window, and just streak away.
Well, we don't know what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing.
Either that or they're already here.
Well, what do you think? Because you just said a minute ago that it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
So is it bullshit, or are you just kind of humoring it? What do you really think?
Bullshit.
You don't think aliens
I
exist?
don't. Well, that's the one thing about space and time and all that. We had this. We want there to be space people. We want to be visited. We want to know that somebody out there is capable of traveling all the way to see us. Because we're so important. But in reality, they are so far away. And getting at one other little thing, speaking of that, when I was a kid, I was 7th grade, 6th grade, the teacher would say, the earth is really, the universe is really huge. Wow, I'm in the 5th grade, 6th grade, whatever. I go home and I think about it, look at the sky and look at the stars. Wow, the universe is really huge. And then I get into high school. I'm a junior or a senior in high school. And they come out and say, the teachers come out and say, well, the universe is about 1 million times bigger than we originally thought. I'm like, what? I mean, I had a hard time getting my head around the universe is really huge. And now you're telling me it's 1 million times bigger than that?
They don't fucking know. It's
really
immeasurable.
Then, I'm in my 60s, so 50 years later, 40, 50 years later, they come out with Hubble, right? So, Hubble is out there throwing pictures back that'll drop your jaw. Okay, and we all know that. We've all seen them. So there was one little story with Hubble, that the stars are everywhere in every direction. But there was one little place where it wasn't as dense with stars as everything else was. So they, just out of curiosity, they programmed Hubble to turn around and take some pictures of that little place where it's not very dense.
That's
So
one of the most amazing photographs ever.
Absolutely amazing. So they do it. So Hubble goes clickety click click, clickety click click, and they come back, and the people at the space place, they say, what the hell? It turns out that the place where it's not so dense is 14.5 billion years away.
Light years.
Light years. 14.5 billion would it be, light years away. And it's taken all that time for the reflection, for the light from those galaxies to get to us. And so I'm thinking, wow, this leads me to conclude something else. Number one, we're here and we're looking at the objects that are 14.5 billion light years away, right? Okay, now let's move it back a little bit. What if we're there and we're looking in our direction and we're just now for the first time seeing the Earth, the Milky Way, because it's taken all that time for the light from us to get to there. Okay? Now here's the conundrum. What if you're there and you look the other way? instead of looking where we are, the Milky Way, you look the other way. What are you going to see?
The same thing.
The same thing. In other words, we can't see past this point because there's not enough time has passed for the reflection of anything back beyond it to get there. So it looks like we have a curtain behind this one galaxy, or this cluster of galaxies. All right? So in other words, what it boils down to is the universe goes on forever. That's a very overused word. We use it forever. I'm going to love you forever. Yeah. I'm going to keep this car forever. No. The word forever means forever.
Yeah, that's true.
In every direction, any direction, every direction. Forever. So, that's all I'm going to say about that.
So, we were talking about aliens, and then you went off on that tangent.
Oh, yeah, I did. Didn't I?
Is there aliens out there that you believe?
So the whole time I'm growing up, the big burning question was, is there life out there? Are we the only ones out here? Are we out here alone? Is there? Think about it. Amino acids are in asteroids. Asteroids are scattered throughout the entire universe, including the ones we can't see. Amino acid is the foundation of life, building blocks of life. Okay? Now, when amino acids land on a water planet, guess what? Life is going to pop up. Okay? So there's millions of planets that have life on them. If not billions. But I'm being conservative and saying millions.
And life goes as far as, plant life and, microscopic life, I forget what it's called. And
microorganisms.
Yeah, there you go. And sentient life as well. I mean, you can't, I don't think anyone can say that there's no life out there. All life in the universe happens to be right here on this one rock. I think that is...
How could there not be? How could there not be?
Because it's impossible.
Because everything we're made of is the elements of the universe.
Yes.
Everything we're made of. And so if we're made of that here, then those elements are throughout the entire universe. Okay.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right conditions. Certainly you have to have a water planet. You have to have certain distance from the sun. Otherwise, you're further away. Everything's frozen. Everything's too hot. All that. The Goldilocks distance, right? And the sun has to be. And also it helps if you have an electromagnetic field, which will keep the radiation, because there's a lot. I'm sure there's millions of planets that don't have that, and so they just get cooked by radiation. And so 1 in a billion planets, or say 1 in 10 billion planets, is just like us. The right style, the right everything works. 1 in 10 billion. That means there's billions of planets out there like ours.
There's an infinite number.
Yeah.
Hundreds and
Yeah.
millions of billions.
So the answer to the question is, are we the only ones in the universe? Is there any life out there? How could there not be? That's the answer. Just let it go with that. How could there not be life out there?
That's exactly.
Now, did they build 57 Chevys? Maybe not.
56? No. So, that being said,
yeah.
What do you think the Pentagon showed us? I'm not saying that they are the most trustworthy and honest people by any means.
We have been looking at pictures and photographs and UFOs that have been filmed by everybody for the last since the 50s.
Yeah.
And all this bullshit started with the movies that came out in the 50s, by the way. Yeah. They made movies about aliens coming to Earth. And
well, they do that to desensitize you.
Well,
that's why, they just movies. They do try to think of every scenario for aliens to exist in the movies. That way, whenever it's presented to you, like someone says, "Yeah, aliens exist," they'll be like, well, "This guy watches too many movies." That's the way that they have it. Kind of, that's the way people think.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, have you ever seen anything that you think? Have you ever seen a UFO?
No.
No, nothing.
No. I'm waiting for it. I want to look at the moon and say, take me.
Well, the moon's definitely not a UFO.
Well, yeah, but they would hide behind the moon, wouldn't they? Oh, right there. They got periscope just above the moon, just looking at the earth, saying, well, where's our next victim? Yeah, let's run down there. We're gonna get in our spaceship. We're gonna run down there. We're gonna sneak in the middle of the night, and we're gonna abduct somebody, and then do scientific experiments, and then put them on the so they don't remember it. Really. So the aliens, they have pictures of the aliens. They're called the Greys, right? Do they wear ski masks? They're going to act like criminals. They're going to come down here and surreptitiously do bullshit. No,
Okay.
they're not going to bother with that.
All right. I have seen something a few times. Or there's one time whenever I was a kid where it was like in the middle of the night, and it was like it was almost like a sleep paralysis kind of thing, like where I couldn't move. I don't know if it was, I don't remember what it was. But one thing that I did see in the sky, this was back whenever I was probably 26. So this was a little while ago. I'm 32 now. I used to be into model rockets that you would build. You build the whole thing, you launch it in the sky, you go like 500 feet in the sky. Those were cool. Parachute down. I was launching one day. I had a couple friends over with me, and the rocket took off so fucking high up there. Like I think it was actually like 600 to 800 feet. Like it went way the fuck up there. Came down, parachuted down for like 3 minutes, and landed in my neighbor across the street's backyard. So
No wind that day.
Very little. This neighbor was, probably from my front door to her front door was 500 feet.
Yeah.
So we didn't like knock on her door and tell her we were looking. We just went in her backyard and I was looking for the rocket. I had my friend with me. It was me and one of my friends went to look. The other guys stayed back, and we were looking for it for a few minutes. Couldn't find it. The lady came out of her backyard. Her back door. And was like, "What are y'all doing?" And I was like, "Well, I'm your neighbor right here." I'd never met her. Your neighbor, and we shot off our rocket, and we saw it land in your backyard. And whenever I told her we shot off our rocket, I pointed up in the sky. I was like, it went way up there, and when I pointed to the sky, I looked, and there was 3 lights. And this is broad daylight. This was probably at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock maybe. There was 3 lights that were in a triangle shape, and they were just rotating, not fast, just slow. Whenever I pointed out, I saw it, and I was like, I even asked that lady, I was like, "Do you see that?" And she stepped down from her porch, and she was like, "Yeah, what is it?" And I was like, "I don't know." But I sat there and looked at it for a minute, and then those 3 lights, that they didn't stop turning. They were turning clockwise. They just it looked like they were going in together, like the 3 lights were just going like that, but really it was going away. So it was getting smaller the farther away it went, and then it was gone. I was looking at it for like 30 seconds. I even asked my friend. I was like, "Dude, look." And we were all just like, "Whoa!" Even that old lady just sitting there staring at it. And it went away, and I was like, "Holy fuck!" We never did find our rocket.
That's what in Japan, whenever they see a UFO, they do the same thing. Somebody points to the sky and he goes, "Rook." Okay. Anyway. Well, so it's a personal experience, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now that, just because that was a UFO, because it was unidentified. Was it aliens? I can't say. I don't know exactly what it was. It was a UFO because I couldn't identify it. It was big though, because it was in our stratosphere. Mm-hmm. And no, it wasn't, because I never saw an object. I only saw the lights. Maybe it was cloaked, looked invisible, except for the lights.
Oh, the Cleons.
The thrusters, you know, those
Was
lights
being
were
visited
thrusters.
by
And
the
everything.
Cleon. The cloaking device.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
See, we have a vivid imagination of unbelievable dimensions. You know, people that write all these science fiction stories and movies and books and things like that. We have a vivid imagination. Now they can film a whole movie in front of a blue or green screen. The whole movie. And do everything else with, you know, all the computers and everything else. And so it didn't used to be like that. I watched Flash Gordon, the original Flash.
Gordon!
Oh no, that came out many years later. But when I was in the 3rd grade, my Saturday morning, my mother would give me a quarter and drive me down to the theater at 10 o'clock. And 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, she'd drive me down there and give me a quarter. And I go in, buy my way in, get a popcorn and get a Coke, and we sit there and watch all kinds of bullshit until about 3 in the afternoon. It was like 4 or 5 hours.
So wait, with a quarter, you got a movie ticket, popcorn, and a Coke.
That's right.
And how old were you?
Oh, God. Okay. 3rd grade, I was what, 9, 10? But the whole place was just kids. It was called a matinee. That's where you put your kids on Saturday morning. It was called a matinee. And they had all these little, it wasn't like going in there to see a movie. They had a movie. But they also had all this other bullshit in front. They had Roy Rogers,
Like all these
Neil Evans.
anti-weed ads.
Yeah. Well, no, I never saw those.
Uh-huh.
But Flash Gordon, and we had Roy Rogers, and we had Sky something. The guy that had the airplane, a cowboy with an airplane and a Chrysler station wagon. Woody. Anyway, and so we had to watch all these little trailer things, and then you saw the movie. I saw movies like Pit and the Pendulum, scared the shit out of me, and it was a whole different experience. But you have a whole theater full of kids, all 10 years old, right? You imagine the mayhem, some shit flying around.
Not bad.
Yeah, it was mayhem, but it was fun. Part of my childhood. It was fun.
Good.
For a quarter.
That's good. I remember you telling me when I was young that you used to go into the store with a nickel, come out with a soda and a candy bar.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the fuck?
I took, well, Mother and I were staying at my grandmother's house for 6 months or so, when I was little. And I knew all the neighborhood kids. And it was a Saturday morning, my mom was off, so she decided to sleep in. So I stole a 50-cent piece. She had it sitting on the dresser. And I took that 50-cent piece.
You are going to hell for that.
I probably am.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
No way out of it. But I took that 50-cent piece, and because I got caught later. But
What'd she say?
oh, I got my ass kicked for that.
You got it spanked?
I got, oh yeah.
With the belt or with the paddle?
Usually her hand. Anyway, but I left the house and I went and got about three of my friends in the neighborhood, all my age, and we went down to the candy store, or actually it was a drugstore. I had a big candy section, and we bought 50 cents worth of candy, and we could barely carry it all. I had all our pockets full, pockets, and just candy everywhere.
That's funny.
But that was back when all those sodas came in bottles.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big recycling thing, and that was a source of income for a lot of pin money for a lot of kids.
Yeah. Whenever we first moved to Idaho, I was 12 years old. We moved to this little town in between bigger towns called Louisville. But there was the population was like, what, 400? It was a little town like...
No, it's 397, but go ahead.
Oh my God. About 400. They had this little gas station convenience store where they sold penny candy. So we used to like get as many pennies as we could find, like from the couch cushions and from the car, or take money out of your piggy bank. You go in there and they used to have like Swedish fish. They had like little just a bunch of random shit. Like they would buy big bags of candy that weren't like individually wrapped.
Yeah.
They would just dump all this candy in this thing. We'd be like, let me get 17 of those, 5 of these, 6 of... Anyway, you can't get that anymore.
Yeah.
You can't get that.
Yeah, times have changed. I can't believe how much it cost. It cost me $1.89 for a candy bar the other day.
Oh, you poor
$1.89.
I wonder, speaking of candy,
Mm.
you know how like at big grocery stores like Winco and stuff like that, they have those candy sections where you open that lid and the container's clear. Like there's like big gummy sharks in this one, and there's like Twizzlers
Yeah.
in this one.
Yeah.
I wonder how they're gonna do that now with this whole coronavirus thing.
I don't know.
I bet
I don't go to those stores.
obviously a lot of shit is gonna be changing
Yeah.
with all this that's going on, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of bullshit that's
We'll get over it. We'll
being
get over it.
fed to the world right now.
We've
but-
been through worse. World War II, I think, was kind of a tight for us. You couldn't get rubber, you couldn't get gasoline. They rationed rubber and gasoline and a
Why
whole bunch
rubber?
of for the tires for the war effort. Everything was for the war effort. All the women worked in factories, and it was just because the guys were all away, and it was just some hard times. Not counting the depression before that. So, was some hard times. They determined that some scientist was on TV a little while back that one of the things they called the Dust Bowl, when all the crops were destroyed by dust and dirt and storms, sandstorms and dirt storms and whatnot, and that caused everybody to lose their farms and during the depression. And somebody came out and said that it was because of static electricity. There was a change in the way that the atmosphere manipulated and or reacted to static electricity. So static electricity caused the dirt to be thrown up in the air. And they had these huge storms and this ruined people's crops and homes and lives.
What year was that?
Well, the depression was in the 29s, 30s.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was hard times. That's when the banks closed. People jumped out of buildings and all that. Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is like this whole pandemic, if you will. Is like one of the biggest deals that's been around since I've been alive.
Yeah.
I mean, it affected everyone in the whole world was affected by it.
Yeah.
I do believe that there are, like I kind of mentioned a minute ago, there's a lot of agendas going on right now.
And misinformation.
Lots of misinformation.
Well, see, we're always inquisitive. We want to know where it came from and who started it and who was behind it and who financed it and who, what country did it come from and how did it get from here to there. We want to know all this kind of stuff. We want to do an investigation.
And then at the same time,
investigation.
Yeah, we want all these answers, and then the only people that are giving the world these answers are the news outlets.
Yeah.
And it's like once this coronavirus pandemic thing hit, it's like all of a sudden everyone forgot that there was fake news. Like we determined this over the past few years that all these major news outlets, they're feeding us a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
But not once they started talking about this pandemic,
It's
everyone
worked
was
out.
like, okay, yeah, they're telling the truth.
Yeah. Didn't have that. In the 50s and 60s, the news ratings were based on the personalities of the people giving the news. Like some people were famous, Walter Cronkite and a few other big names, not just him, but a lot of big names on different stations and whatnot. And they were all competing to be your source of news and whatnot. But the news that they were giving was credible. They were reporters. They were actually journalists. But we have gotten away from that now, and I think it's the media has realized how much power they have. And it all started, I don't know exactly when it started, but one of the things that contributed to it is that the media was able to end the war in Vietnam. The media did it. Okay? Why? How? Well, they sent reporters out there to Vietnam, and you saw them. You see the old reruns and whatnot, and they show the carnage. They show the dead Viet Cong, or they show the dead soldiers, or they show death, or in a battle or something like that. And it was on the 6 o'clock news every night, and it was a kind of a negative tone. American boys are dying, and Viet Cong are dying, and Vietnamese people are suffering, and it just went on and on and on. And eventually, the entire Vietnam War kind of was bent this way, like it turned negative. Like, well, why are we there? And what do we have to gain? And, we're losing a lot of people, and it's just, how are we going to get out of it? And what's the next step? But the media was able to turn the American population, public opinion, which is very powerful, against the war in Vietnam. Now, on one hand, I want to say thank you because the war ended. Thank you. We're not still there doing the same crap, right? So the war did end. On the other hand, the drawback to that was that by the time they had turned public opinion so negative, the negativity overflowed into the veterans coming back. So that we didn't have parades. We didn't have, down in Camp Pendleton, I spent a year in Camp Pendleton when I got back from Vietnam, 2 tours of Vietnam. They suggested, right from the very top of Camp Pendleton people, suggested that when you go on liberty, don't wear your uniform. Don't wear your uniform.
When you go on liberty? When you go home?
When you go off base.
Oh.
When you go off base, like for a weekend or your liberty for the evening or whatever, don't wear your uniform. They actually come out and said it. And that was kind of a slap in the face, really, because if you did wear your uniform off base in the Camp Pendleton area, LA area, Oceanside area, the civilian population was so turned against the war that they needed somebody to blame or needed somebody to vent with, and so they would spit on you and call you a baby killer, and we had to endure all of that. So like enduring the war wasn't enough. We had to endure all that bullshit when we came back, and this caused a lot of people a lot of veterans to have kind of a bad trip, if you want to call it, when they came back. Not too much me. I had my guitar music to kind of keep me on an even keel, but public opinion had turned that radically. Okay, and so the media looks back and said, "Wow, we did that. We were able to pull that off, and now they're doing it again. They're doing it again, and now they're just making up shit, and they say preposterous things, and nobody says, "Hey, wait a minute, what?" Nobody calls them on it.
Well, people are starting to, especially after this latest video today with the interview with that doctor.
Yeah.
And especially how YouTube keeps taking them down.
Oh yeah.
Like that raises awareness.
Part of the game.
Yeah.
Part of the media.
But I hope that all the truths are revealed to us eventually. Because there's a lot of corruption going on with these criminals in charge of this country, and I hope that they're all, paid. I hope they all pay for what they've done. And I hope that we get a huge wave of all this truth, even though the truth is sometimes really harsh. The truth is always a beautiful thing.
But no one's going to believe it.
I know.
No one's going to believe it. I mean, we have one news network that has been putting out fake news for a couple of years now, and they lost respect from me years ago. I have known that they don't count. They don't matter. They have no credibility whatsoever.
There's like over, I think I read that it was like 120 something news outlets in the world. They're all owned by 6 corporations.
Yeah. So here comes the agenda, right? So the interesting thing happened in World War II, I think, which almost comes into play now, and that is that Germany, 1940, 1939, there were different political organizations that were trying to kind of vying for power. They knew the old man was going to die, so they wanted to be able to take in. You had the communists, you had the nationalists, you had the fascists, you had independents, you had all these different groups. And so this newspaper published an article pretty much to the extent that, maybe Adolf Hitler is not the guy we need to run our country. Maybe he's more like a hoodlum, more like a criminal. Maybe he's going to lead us astray and whatnot. And so they published it, and it went all the way across Germany. Everybody read it, including the people around Hitler. So then a couple days later, a couple of trucks with brown shirts and machine guns, they pulled up in front of the newspaper, and they brought everybody out of the building and put them in front of the building and machine gunned them to death. Then they all got in the truck, and they went out and had lunch somewhere. It was just another day at the office, right? Well, it horrified everybody in the newspaper business. They sent reporters out there to look at all the dead bodies. And then the Gestapo, some of those nice folks that carry guns on the side, they visited the CEOs of all the other newspapers and said, from now on, you're going to print what we tell you to print, okay? And they go, yeah, okay. And that's why they took control of the media in Germany. So everybody believed everything. That was they had, Radio Free Europe, and nobody listened to that. They had all the newspapers, and they believed everything the newspapers said. They had control over it. And once in a great while, a little Piper Cub type of airplane would fly over a German city and they'd crack the window and throw out pamphlets, and the pamphlets would go, and on the pamphlets was the truth. What was really going on with Hitler and his band of merrymen. What they were really doing, murdering millions of people. And so the German people would pick up the pamphlet and look at it, and when they start reading the truth, they go, bullshit, it's just propaganda. Just propaganda. They didn't want to read it. They didn't want to hear it. And boy, were they surprised at the end of the war. They were stunned. They were stunned. And they marched them out. The Allies and the Russians also marched the people out of the villages and towns and walked them all the way to the death camps and showed them what was going on. And they were stunned. They couldn't believe it. They had no idea. Had no idea what was going on. So
it's sad that
but the media had control of everything they believed everything religiously, everything the paper said. And so we have a whole section of society that is following some sort of agenda of the media where they can get a hold of public opinion, and they're trying to run their own little agenda, which is away from the truth. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of scary too.
It is.
Because we're Americans. We're not sheep. We're Americans. And you have to be able to
breeding sheep for a long time.
Well, you have to be able to think. You have to be able to think. When some person stands up with a straight face and says, the president is a threat to national security. There's no one in the audience or in the room that goes, what? Are you nuts? Nobody says a word. They buy it. They just buy it. And the President of the United States is actually a mole for the Soviet Union. What a stupid thing to say. What a stupid thing to have. How stupid can you say? That's the stupidest thing you could possibly ever say. The president is a mole for the Soviet Union? Oh yeah, okay. But they say it, and no one in the audience says, huh? Really? Gee, I didn't know the president was actually working for Putin. I had no idea. No wonder he's got so much money. He's getting money from being the president, and he's getting money from Putin. Oh, he's going to be rich. Wait a minute. He already is rich. He's not doing it for the money, right? So we're getting this information every day, because once you start a lie, you have to continue. Otherwise, they're not going to go and say, sorry, folks, everything we said for the last year or the last 3 years, it's all bullshit. Sorry, we're going to be on the right track now. We're going to start telling the truth. No, they have to continue. They have to die with the lie. They have to die with the lie. So they have the followings. That's how they make their money. But I think what we should be looking at, the only way to combat it, is the fake news people. They have sponsors. Ooh, that's where the money comes from. Oh, so if you're watching fake news, sitting there like I used to watch the Mickey Mouse Club with my ears on, just hanging on every word they said in front of my TV, this far from the TV when I was 7 years old, watching the Mickey Mouse Club. So if you're watching the news like that, and they advertise this product,
Red flag.
don't buy the product.
Yeah.
Don't buy the product. I'm not saying boycott this, boycott that. Yeah, I'm not saying, I'm not trying to start trouble here, folks. I'm just saying, don't buy the product.
Well, every time you spend money on a product, it's essentially like casting a vote on what you support and what you don't support.
Indirectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, I can't remember who said that a while back. Someone said that, and that's pretty accurate, Like if you don't support what Gatorade's doing, whatever, just as an example, don't buy their Gatorade.
Yeah.
And if, millions of people don't support what Gatorade's doing, and millions of people stop buying Gatorade's probably going to stop doing that, or stop supporting that, or change it, or go bankrupt.
Or a shoe company that makes shoes, and you find out that the shoes are actually made in some Asian country where they pay everybody 50 cents a day and work them 12 hours, 16 hours, with no benefits, no nothing, not even time for lunch.
Yeah.
And it's sweatshops are making these shoes, whatever brand, and you find out that's where the shoes are coming from, and that the company is making, a huge amount of money. Don't buy the shoes.
Yeah.
Don't buy the shoes.
I think we'll go ahead and wrap this podcast up. Thank you for listening for the first one.
We're just waiting for the police to get here and arrest us for saying something that went against the grain.
Thanks for listening to our first podcast. I hope you guys maybe consider trying some yerba mate. I can share the brand that I use with you guys if you'd like. Just let me know in the comments. Also, like and subscribe to the channel for more content in the future. We plan on making this a frequent podcast. We're going to have other guests on the show sometime. Let us know what you want us to talk about in the future. If you guys want to hear more about the Vietnam era or the motorcycle era, or there's a lot of topics that we didn't even touch on today.
Boring.
Like music, we're going to talk a lot about music.
Yeah.
We have a lot of other topics that we're going to be discussing in the future, but y'all let us know what you'd like us to hear, like us to talk about, what you would like to hear. Yeah. But anyway, thanks a lot for listening to,
Thank you.
What was it called?
The Revolving
Door podcast.
And that's the way conversation is. It's kind of a revolving door. A lot of people get into a conversation and they want to dominate the conversation, or they think that what I have to say is much more important than what he has to say because look at my face. I'm older, right? I know more. I'm smarter. But he has his opinion. And the thing is too, which I think is really cool, is that we disagree on not everything, but we disagree on stuff. And you know what? It's okay. Mm-hmm. It's perfectly all right.
Yeah.
Right? It's perfectly all right. So we agree to disagree.
We do that often.
Yeah.
That's good. But anyway, thanks a lot for checking it out, and hope you guys liked it. But y'all take care.
And the last time you saw an old face like this, the guy said, "Thanks for your support."